Yeah.
All right,
He's
now
on.
we are live. There we go.
Now you're live.
Now we're good. All right, so Coach, we wanted to talk about more about your tagging stuff, right?
Yes, sir.
And now you and I were talking earlier, and just a little background. You know, you went in deep last time we talked. I think Robbie, you were part of that too.
Yes, sir.
You know, you basically base it all on shallow cross, correct?
Yeah.
And
Most. Yeah. Robbie does too.
I'm going to go on record here and say that I, for me at least personally, shallow is not one of our stronger plays. I mean, I've tried it for a couple of years now, and I got to be honest, it's probably one of those plays that I'm reluctant to call just because it doesn't pop for us. Now and I can show you just kind of real quick how we run the shallow, but and I'll kind of describe it. We run our shallow guys on the slots. Our slot guys run the shallows. And so we're having our outside guys doing our verticals. And the only way I could get the shallow to pop for us for the shallow cross is if I sent our guy who's going to be running the shallow. If I sent him in we call it a rabbit motion or a snake motion across the formation, so that he's already on the other side of the formation to hit the shallow cross. So it was not one of the plays that really hit for us.
You got it. I mean, we can look at it. Maybe I can see something. You know what I mean. If you want to look at it,
I really don't have any film of it.
You're good.
We didn't call it that much. I was just again, like I said, I was reluctant to call it just because we had other things that I could rely on. Like for example, when we talked today, stick is our old reliable. That's our baby, and we can run stick and we can tag off of that to make it a little bit different based on what we're seeing from the defense. So if I had my choice, no matter what the situation, if I had my choice between calling shallow or calling stick, I'm calling stick just because I know I can kind of manipulate or call a certain tag or a certain motion, or motion into a certain formation to run stick just because I know, we run it so much and we ran it so well that that's kind of where my go-to play. And like I told you earlier, we're adding in two more plays, and I'm actually going to be using Y cross in hopes that it replaces shallow, just because shallow is not working for us, and then we're going to add fade out as well. So that's kind of a little background behind it.
What do you use with stick? I mean, here's I guess the biggest question would be what makes the stick more successful for you, in your opinion, than what you have seen with the shallow? And I'll just tell you that I got away from running the shallow route with the inside receivers a long time ago.
Right.
Because
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, it is a little more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
The timing of the play is a lot longer. I mean, when you're talking about youth football, everything happens so quickly, So if you're talking about a time stamp, 1 to 2 seconds is really all you have.
Right.
And if you're running your shallow and you're trying to wait for that window to vacate over, a front side tackle before you throw the ball, you just don't have enough time. And I think a lot of guys get into that when they teach it. I'll go back to, how should you teach the shallow, post, dig, shallow? Well, at the lower level, you really can't teach it like that because the post and the dig, they don't develop fast enough because you don't have the speed that they have in college.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're not, threatening the defense vertical super fast like you can in college. So just the change in the progression, from the outside receiver coming in and across, that window over the slot area in the flat, above the flat, is normally always open.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, like when you see in middle school, waggles are good. Any speed outs are good. Any naked boots or type of bootlegs to the right or the left hitting the flat or in some type of shoot route is always really, really highly successful.
Well,
And
we read it shallow dig back, running back.
yeah,
The running back was always running opposite shallow.
yeah. So if you're reading the shallow first from the interior receiver, you know, the linebackers have to be coming all the time, right? I mean,
Well,
go
a
ahead.
lot of times what we saw was that outside linebacker that was covering the other slot that's running the dig. He's taking off for that dig. We saw a lot of man.
Yeah. So man, yeah.
So I mean, he's taking off, and the problem we had is just those two linebackers, those middle linebackers would just sit there. So it was kind of a lot of traffic for our shallow guy to get through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then the protection would break down, and a lot of times the quarterbacks that I've had kind of panicked.
Yeah, it only takes a couple of seconds. I mean,
Yeah.
you get them about 1.5 in, and they're bugging out.
You asked about stick. For me, I think for right now, especially, is personnel. Personnel for me is because we were just able to run it, and see, I had the luxury of having two really, really big, tall, lengthy outside receivers. The way I like it, I like my outside receivers to be tall and lengthy, and just go up and get a jump ball. And then our two slot guys, which are H, he was, dynamic, and he was only a 7th grader, so he's coming back next year. So we were trying to get him just sit down in space, and once he had the ball in his hands, it didn't really matter. I mean, I can show you clips of guys where 4 or 5 guys are around him. He should be tackled, and he slips out of it just by a couple moves, and he's gone for a touchdown. So we were able just to have him sit between those two linebackers, and if that wasn't there, if that linebacker stayed, and we had a good running back, that quarterback just turn his shoulders and throw out to the running back, and he would have all this space. So we were able to utilize the running back so much that they forgot about our slot guys, and then all of a sudden our slot guys had wide open space right in the middle of the field.
Yeah, that's
and then with our tall receivers, our quarterback has the option pre-snap. If he likes that vertical, we're taking it. And just about every single team we played, those kids and the way they were and the way they could jump in their hands, it was a mismatch every single play. There was not a corner in our county that could line up and just toe to toe out jump them. They were just that big. And now all those guys that I'm describing, all my slot guys, my quarterback, my running back, and my two receivers are all coming back next year.
So they were your 7th grade squad. They'll be your 8th grade squad this year.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a luxury of personnel, I guess you would say. So that's why stick just hit so well, and that's why I'm thinking, okay. And we also would run 4 verts out of early and late, and that inside guy would run a crossing route, and we hit that a bunch of times.
Now, I tell you, I've got a team that runs shallow like flawlessly. Like I can call any version of shallow you want, and these guys, they'll nail it. I mean, it's all over the place. I mean, it's like unstoppable, right? But I've got another squad that they really struggle. It's like they can't. The timing's off. The quarterback's hanging on, something else. Who knows what he's looking at?
Right.
And if you got a guy that is hesitant at all on the release, there's other versions of the shallow. There's other parts of it that can open up faster and better for you. But the threat of holding the linebackers on that high-low, no matter how you get to it, is something in middle school I think that needs to be stressed. Like for stick, for me, like how do you run stick? What formation do you run it on out of? And then, a lot of guys call almost like a snag or a slant and then setting up over the tackle in like a slant stop. They call that stick, But, other, like higher level guys call a stick an inside release from a Y and then a vertical stem for 4 to 6 and then just a little out, So it's like a 2-yard out route. And he's only getting a couple yards width outside of his starting position, but he has the inside release. Does that make sense? So it's just like a little 2-yard out.
Well, I can show you real fast.
Yeah, let's see. Let's look at it, and then we got something same basis we can talk about.
Yeah,
and I can show you how to how I would tag stick, and we can go more into how the offense works, how I use my offense terms to get more multiple with the same thing.
Y'all see that?
Yeah, we see.
All right. So there, you see that? There's my stick. I mean, I have it numbered different. I got X and H, and then my Z's my other slot, and my Y's on the. So for us, it wouldn't be Y cross, it would be Z cross, or so. In other words, we call it H stick would be to the left, and Z stick would be to the right. So we just basically tell them we're going to attack that inside shoulder, that defender right there. And he's this receiver who's running the stick route. He's already pre-snap looking for that space, that gap.
Right.
And he's going to attack that gap. Now we are banking again that this linebacker, he's responsible for the running back. He's going to chase, so it's going to make that gap even that much bigger because he's going to chase. And so we're just so for in this regard here, we're pre-snapping this corner right here. And if we don't, then we're going right down to this defender right here. And old rule like Mackey talks about, if this defender goes out, we throw in.
Right.
And if he stays in, we throw out. And a lot of times he just gives a quick glance. And basically we just tell him if that linebacker does anything other than just take off, throw the running back. Just throw the running back. Because eventually, especially in a lot of times, sometimes I've even said to the quarterback, "We're going to call stick. The first time we call it, I want you to throw the running back automatically. Look at that defender, but I want you just to throw the running back automatically." And that little just showing that we're going to throw to the running back, it's like a mind game almost. That these linebackers all of a sudden start focusing on that running back and forget about our slot receivers.
Right. Yeah, and if that Will, or the Mike there, who you got him on right now, if he's playing any kind of run fit, he's coming downhill A, B, or C most of the time anyway, right? I mean, you're getting a blitz from the Mike mostly. Is that what you get?
Yep, and I mean we saw this kind of defensive alignment almost exclusively.
Yeah, just a cover 3 shell, and then they're just playing some games.
That's all it was. And now I'll show you one more thing we do here. If I scroll down to, we'll just say, where is it at? No, I can't find it. There we go. We'll just do this one. That's stick out early.
Okay.
And so, we always have Z running the stick route, and H is always running the flat route. So essentially, he just replaces the running back. Then the running back is our shit route.
Right.
Nothing there. Shit, throw it out to running back. Because there a lot of times we've hit this too, and there's nobody there. And so it's basically the same concept. Just H replaces the running back. And again, these two guys right here are probably my fastest two on the field. So
all the tagging that I do, most of my tags go with those guys right there.
Yeah.
And I'm using those guys constantly. Normally, the 3 interior, the green, the yellow, and the blue are my 3 best guys.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, the red and the purple, they don't, make plays, because they do make a lot of plays. I mean, and I will tag them exclusively just to get them the ball on screens and stuff like that. But,
right.
Those guys, they make the money. The Y and the A or B, whatever you guys call them, utility back, slot. Those guys are your money guys, really. So yeah, I guess if you want, we can just do like a quick recap of kind of what we went over, and then I'll pull up a version of stick, and kind of show you, and we'll just through some motions, and I'll try to get to those 2 same stick plays. I think the one stick play that you had, that first one that you showed,
the 2x2,
that's kind of like my base concept. The only thing is my Y looks a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And when I call stick the first time, it's normally out of a pro right set or like a wing right look.
Right.
I will call it out of my base at the beginning of the game if I get some cover 3, just to kind of see, what those linebackers are doing and how they're approaching the box and stuff like that. But it's not typical, so I can hit this share. Let's see what I get. Okay. And
you have it?
Yeah. It may give me a little issue. You guys see that?
Not yet.
Share.
Hold on one second. There we go. I got to add it to it. My fault. I'm still kind of used to this StreamYard stuff.
Are you good?
Forgot I had to do it. A little different.
So that's. Does it show up now?
Not yet.
There
you go.
That's it. Okay. All right. So, as we talked last time, the base formation that I use is 22 pistol or 2x2 here, just like we show it. We number the field from left to right, from 0 to 10. Ace and pro are my tight end formation calls. Left and right are my sniffers, and then the 456 are the different back locations. We can move the backs there. We can move green and yellow there to the 4 and 6 locations. Typically, when we call motions or shifts, we're normally talking to F and Y, but we can call out the color red and purple and get them to travel across the midline. Otherwise, it's the guy closest to the number that would populate the closest number. So in this case, if I said 7 and I just have to say 7, he would just come over here and get in that 7 spot. And then we rip off a play, come back and line up. He would go grab his regular location, and we could say right, and he would come over here and set in that right location. And that goes with every number. So we didn't really get to talk about the movement of the doubles. Okay, so I call these guys together on both sides. We call them doubles. So if I call double 23, so these guys would both move. He would get the 2, and he would get the 3. And my doubles is just it's just a call we do. It's like a peace sign. So if I said 89, we would get this number right here. So those are just other types of movements we get. And then obviously my rip and my Liz movements are right and left across the formation. There's a couple movements that I really didn't get to last time. So we have orbit. Everybody's got the orbit. It would look like this. So we would just come in and then we'd come back out. If I said orbit right, so we would just go to the right motion and then back out. If I said orbit 6, he would come down to the 6 out. We could say roll. So roll from one side to the other is behind. So we're just going to roll from one side of the formation to the other, and it's going to be behind the deepest back. So as an example, if my back was here at 6 and he was side saddle to my quarterback and we said roll 3, he would come tight there. He wouldn't get that deep, and then he would exit over there. We have push motion, which is a slower, deliberate motion to one side or the other. It's right or left. So we're trying to get the attention of the overhang, make him come with us. And then we have tear motion, which is a real fast motion, and he's running as fast as he can to get out there. So if I said tear 8, he'd run as fast as he can to get out there to the 8 spot, 9, whatever number we call to his exit point to execute his job.
Just to clarify, your tear and push motion, that's just for the running back, correct?
That it can be for anybody. Okay. So
okay. Well, now I guess my next question would be, how do they know in the play call, who that motion's for?
Right. Okay. So what we talked about previously, that if I'm in a formation, I want to stay in that formation until they get a new formation call. Right. Okay. So as an example, if I'm in 22 pistol, my normal formation right here. Okay. And we also talked about that I have a series. Okay. So as an example, if I'm calling green series, everything that every time that I give a tag, a motion, a shift, or anything, it's going to be associated to the one kid. Okay. So right now I'm going to just say we're in green. Okay. So if I say tear 2, right, what would green do? And I know that's not a great example, but it just gives you an example of, hey, I want him to go really fast to the 2 spot, right? So if I said tear 2, he's running to 2. If I say tear 0, he's running to the 0, and then he's going to do his job once he gets there. Does that make sense? So if I say tear 6, he would, tear his butt across the formation and get to the 6th and then do his job. Likewise, if I say tear pro, he's going to run across and he's going to exit at the pro location. Tear 7, 8, 9, the same. Does that make sense? If I say push, right, I can tell him push 2, So he's just going to kind of skip hop over there to 2 and then do whatever he's supposed to do normally. Okay. If I tell him push 0, he's going to kind of slowly just jog around the red like that, and then he's going to do his job at 0. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The same thing goes for red. You can do the same thing with purple. Now, if I'm not in what I call a series call, like green series, blue, yellow, purple, or red, in other words, I'm not talking to just one guy. Now I have to give 2 calls and a number, right? So as an example, if we were in green, okay, and I said rip 6, but I wanted H to push left, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so the rip 6 would look like this. Pre-snap, he's going to rip. He's going to come over here, and he's going to get to right there, right? Okay. Now, that's a rip motion, okay? But if I say tear 3, okay, we already know he's the only guy that can rip 6. And so the very next guy that can rip 3, remember, the fastest guy that can get there is going to be the guy that's going to do it. So now he's going to rip, or he's going to tear 3. So he's going to go as fast as he can. Once we get to that 3 mark, he's just going to execute whatever job he's got. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we can go, rip, tear. We can go Liz, push. We can go orbit, rip. We can go Liz, orbit, Liz, push. You can combo anything as long as, you don't have 2 guys moving at the same time. Does that make sense? So we could go, as an example, I could go orbit here, right? Pre-snap, it's all movement, and then I can tear right behind him. So, if you're talking about a pre-snap, okay, obviously I can't orbit and tear at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you're just talking about speed. At what speed is he going to run his route? Okay. You may want to slow him down. Does that make sense? So if I did an orbit and I wanted this guy to kind of chase him to see once he takes off in his route, who's left for the flat, right? Now I may want to make him push out there. But if I really want to, stress them out, I can say tear right. Okay. And then now he's out here doing whatever he's supposed to do. And this guy's got to get there fast, because if not, we're going to get him out leveraged really quick. Does that make sense?
Right.
So once you set a term in, just make a rule for it that meets, what you need. Does that make sense? The reason why I use push and tear, and it's the same motion going out and away from the center or the midline, is I needed something that I could slow a guy down, because we were getting to where, like, we call swing right, and the guy was, every time he was just running and he was outrunning, he was pulling the wrong guy on the defense. Maybe we were trying to read the Sam, and the Sam came, but so did the Mike, because he came so fast. Does that make sense? So we got to where, man, we really need to put in another call to slow him down if we need to, so he can catch the eyes of who we need him to catch. So just make sure that if you're going to do something like that, that you can control what the speed is and get to what you need when you need it. Does that make sense? If you have other calls, like, some guys have orbit, some guys have push only, some guys have a rip motion. Anything moving to the right is rip. Anything moving to the left is Liz. The prudent thing to do is, if you're installing your offense, use your same terms, but just use the numbers to get the guys to exit where they're going to exit at. Does that make sense? So now he's not just blindly running out here into the flat, and he makes it all the way to the sideline before he cuts it up. Because, I've got kids that will do that all the time. If you don't tell them where to go, they're just going to kind of meander out there, and you could put you in a bad situation. Does that make sense?
Right.
Any questions on that?
I have a few questions actually. One question I have would be, I think we discussed this last time we talked. Was it you do wristbands, right?
We do wristbands, but the wristbands are not like your typical wristbands. Okay. So we talked about, I've got colors, and my colors series, like in a perfect world, like if let's just say I'm a middle school coach, right? And I know who I'm playing, and I know I'm going to get cover 0 this week, and I know I'm going to get some kind of cover 2 and maybe some kind of cover 3 shell, right? Then I may just throw something in there, some box quarters or something as a just something different, like just to be prepared for something. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay. So right on my wristbands, I would have 5 colors. Okay. Red, green, blue, yellow, and purple. Now let's just say that my purple is cover 3. Okay. So in my cover 3 wristband, per every one of these kids, right? X, F, H, Y, and Z. They're only going to have their job that pertains to them and the concepts that we covered during the week on their wristband. And it's basically only a look down and see or a reminder. Okay. So I'm not calling the play typically off of the wristband. The wristbands are going to be, if the kid needs a reminder of what, he can look down real quick. Okay. So it's not populated like you would think with the 3 levels of plays. Does that make sense? It's not something that if you're moving fast that you want to slow down completely, because what I've run into using wristbands is one kid will look at it real quick and he's already kind of got an idea of his job and he knows where it's at on his wristband, right? But if it's not big enough for them to read it or see it, they're constantly looking down at it. And then the quarterback's over there ripping off a play and the guy's still putting his, wristband down. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So what I've done is, and what I found is, when I put in the offense, I only teach the 4 plays. Okay. And then so the concepts become only 4 different types of concepts. So if you think about what a snag concept is, it's 3-man scat type concepts, high-low on the corners, or high-lows on the outside defenders, right? Okay. And when I put in floods, it's a 2-level high-low. So I may have a high-low on a safety and a high-low on a corner, or a high-low on a safety, high-low on a linebacker. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So now when I go to the wristband and I'm calling plays from the wristband and say I've slowed down, I've got out of tempo, most of the time that is just to give them a different job that they are not typically running. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So, and I'll go over shallow as an example. If I'm in red and my wristband is red and I'm running shallow, I like to get the cover 3. Okay. So, and I'll go over. Okay. So, let's just say I'm getting something like that. Right.
Right.
So I'm just ripping off shallow as much as I can. So he's running the corner. He's running the shallow. He's running the dig. He's running the post out here, and then he's running swing left. Okay. So, I'm hoping that I get some kind of distribution, who knows, something like that. Worst case scenario, he's running with that, and now he's having to chase or he's having to rotate, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, what happens if, we get to where he's chasing man and he's out over the top, they've played, some kind of sky out there and he's cutting that off, right? Well, maybe I need to get into a green series, which is not the typical what I would use for cover 3. And I'm just throwing this out there as an example. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So now let's just say I wanted him to run a sluggo. Okay. That's not his typical route. So if he's running sluggo, if the safety's coming at me, I'm going to run, away from him, right? If the safety's chasing that, I'm going to run the go up the seam.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So now what I've done is I've given them something that they know for sure that is not part of the concept, but is going to be inserted into the concept. Okay. So as an example, the typical, we talk about the typical routes that we run for all 5 receivers. They can all run a swing, arrow, or bubble, right? And then anything on the route tree. Okay. So a swing, arrow, bubble are always separate tags for me. Okay. So I can run, as an example, I'll go with shallow again. So we say shallow right. Okay. So he's running a shallow. And then he would normally run the corner. Okay. Now, if I said, if we're in shallow, right, all I have to say is green arrow, okay, right. And green knows that he's the only person that's going to run the arrow right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. If I was in red series and I said arrow right, now the green would still run his corner, and then now he's running the arrow and not the shallow. Now I'm still in the shallow concept, right? So this guy, he's still running the swing, he's still running the dig, and he's still running the post. But all I've done is tagged him now, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's if I was in red. Okay. If I was in green, if I call bubble left, okay, the only guy that can bubble right now is this guy. So do I have to call him green? I don't have to call it because he's the only guy that can bubble here. See what I'm saying?
Right.
If I'm in the green series and I say bubble, he's still the guy. If I want him to do something different, right, I just say blue arrow right. You see what I'm saying?
I think I understand. Could you do me a favor though?
Yeah, I'll show you here. I'm going
Well,
to go
give
ahead.
me if you don't mind two play calls. One like a base play call,
Okay.
and then based off that base play call, what you see, give me that same play call with the tag.
All right.
You know what I mean? So I'm just kind of I'm trying to visualize how it's being because you're saying you're not really using the wristbands for that, but I'm trying to visualize how it would be relayed to the guys in the field.
Okay. So here's stick. You guys see that?
Yeah.
All right. So now your stick is, you guys, like I said, some guys kind of run it like almost like a slant, and then you kind of get there. This is the way I run stick. This is the way I was taught stick. This is my base stick concept, right?
Right.
Okay. So we've still got kind of the same stuff you showed with your stick. Here's your stick route. This is what you call stick right here. Both of these guys are in a stick route. Okay. So when I teach the stick, that's what it looks like to me. Okay.
Right.
So my guys know that stick route is I'm going to get to my location and I'm going to turn around and be looking for the ball with the defender at my back. Okay. So in this situation, my defender that I'm sticking is my mic right here. Okay. For this stick. Does that make sense?
Yep.
If he was deep cover 2, we'd hope he was coming down on it. Right. So we could get this. Right. Okay. Normally, this guy will stay out here. He'll take the flat. He's coming around the corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're going to read him, right? So this 1 and 2 read here that you see, that always takes place, pretty quick, right? Okay. So now we're in stick. This is the normal concept, okay? So every time I run stick, this is the alignment we're going to get, and we're going to come out, and this is how we run it. So it doesn't matter what formation I was in before or anything like that. If I call stick and we got a break signal, it looks like that. I don't know if you guys can still see me or not.
I can see you.
That's my stick signal, okay? Anytime we get in stick, it's going to be pro right, okay? So here's my pro, and this is the right, okay? We used to have the right location here, but now we call it as a wing, okay? So I was getting into a point where I was calling wing right, and then I would call right. And then so once we added a tight end to it, if I wanted a wing, I would have to call wing. Well, or twins, so I had a more terminology that I just deleted essentially. So now when we call right and left, this is the right location and that's the left location. So it's just a wing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it just kind of saved me some terminology. So I know on my slides I still have the left at the sniffer position, but now we just call that sniffer. And everyone calls it that. So it's just brought us more online with the high schools and stuff, what they're doing. But back to this. Okay. So my green goes to 4, and we just rip a stick right out of here just like that. Okay. Now, let's go to a tag call. Okay. So save and exit that. So let me get to this next diagram. Okay. So here, okay, is my same stick concept, right? So this is the stick. This is this concept. These 3 guys right here are the stick, okay? This is the stick concept right there. This is not part of the stick concept. Does that make sense? Okay. And the reason why it's not part of it now is because I've tagged it out. Okay. So we're going to be in red now. Okay. So if we're looking at my wristband, the first play may be arrow right. Does that make sense for red? It may be hitch. It may be post. It may be corner. It may be whatever. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So as an example, if I'm in my red concept and we're not on the wristbands and I'm just calling a tag, this is arrow right. Okay. So if I only call arrow right, the first guy, okay, it's just like how you read. The first call always goes from left to right. Okay. So every call that I call, if I called arrow right, shoot, swing, or arrow left, let's say, what do you think I would get? Okay, so if I said, here's my 3 tags, arrow right, shoot, arrow left. Just tell me what you think would happen here.
Say that one more time.
Arrow right, shoot, arrow left.
You said left or right.
Yes.
So you're reading left to right?
My players know that the call comes from left to right. So every guy that I just gave an assignment to, which colors did I tag?
Just the red?
Red and green.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and yellow.
And yellow.
Right.
What did you say? Did you say what was the last part of the call?
Arrow left.
Arrow. Well, okay. Well, it's not showing there, but yes.
Right. Okay. So now, what would have to happen in order for me to get an arrow left, right, out of yellow? I mean, you already guys, you know what's going to happen, right? So he's just going to run this arrow left now. See what I'm saying? So now I've got arrow right, I got the shoot route, and I got an arrow left. Okay. Now, did that change that play dramatically?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, to the defense, it changed the play dramatically too, right? But what would be a reason why that I would call that?
Pushing inside linebackers.
Yeah. So let's just say we got something like this happening. He's walked down.
There's nobody in the middle.
Yep.
Right.
So then you set up mesh.
Yeah. But okay. So now,
And that corner's chasing that arrow.
okay. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But look, the tag is here though, right? So this is the tag. That's the most important tag is the arrow left right here. This guy walks down. I tagged arrow left. Now my stick route, okay, is going to be right there. I mean, instead of running the stick to the outside, he's running right there, right?
Yeah,
he's going to
because
replace.
Is he running an arrow? Or is he running the stick though? That's the he knows just to sit down right there, right? Or instead of taking the arrow all the way across the field.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, remember we talked about if I had an arrow, I want to give him an aiming point. Okay. So if my mic was there, the aiming point, if I use the straw as my tag, okay. So my rule for the arrow route is straw, straight through, right at the window. Okay. So in this case, the window is going to be right there, right underneath the free safety behind the mic. Okay. If I was blocking, like if I needed to block that in because he's just a beast, right? And I'm running the ball, for an example, if I'm running QB keep or something to the right, just as an example, he would block the end, right? First, then try to work his way to the mic. Does that make sense? If we were daylighting in and reading him, he would just block the mic. Is that, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're talking about a run play now, right? Not passing, just that would be a run play. So we let him go. You know, he's coming. Now we're blocking the mic. Now I got QB out there free. That makes sense? Okay. So I'm still in my stick concept, and I've just moved one guy, but basically, and I've got what I wanted. I can get a quick stick behind the mic if he's blitzing, right? And I didn't have to tag anything else, right? It was already built into play. Let's just say we came up here and, you know, everything being apples to apples, nobody's moved, you know, things look something similar to that, you know, pre-snap. And that's my play call. Okay. It's arrow right, shoot. That's it. Okay. He would still be on stick. Okay. You guys tracking with me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. So now Mike walks down. Now I'm clap twice, whatever your signal is to get your guys' attention to check with me, whatever you do. Now I see Mike walk down. Now I'm just going to say arrow right, yellow, arrow right. Does that make sense?
You're going to say that or you're going to signal it?
I'm going to signal it, say it, signal it, yell it. I mean, whatever you got to do, however you're going to get it in, right? So if you know that your yellow is a certain symbol, okay, when he hits check with me, you tag it out, right? If this is a post-snap movement and he's coming, there's nothing you can do about it, right? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, but there is, okay? So let's go back to the stick concept as it was drawn up, okay? In my regular stick concept, X runs speed out, right? Okay. The green, he runs his shoot to the stick. So he's protecting the end. If the wheel's coming, he's going to block him, and then he's going to get into his stick route. Is this X right here, is this the same type of concept that I had on my original stick? In essence?
Don't really remember.
Between your Y and your H?
Don't remember.
Between my F and my X.
Oh, okay. I see it as the same between the Y and the H.
The Y
Yeah,
and the H
I
is
see.
the same, right? Because
Because he has a stick in the in this case, the number 2 receiver where your H is as the shoot route, it's the same as the F.
Right. Right. Okay. Let's go back to the first diagram. Well, I'll just draw it here. I mean, I'll draw it on here. Here's the first diagram. Okay. So it kicked me out there. Sorry. I hit save and exit and there was a little delay there. I'll come back in. You guys see that?
Yeah, we good.
Okay. So my original stick concept was this. Okay. So he's going to go block, and then he's going to get right there. Okay. You guys see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you see how I've used F to replace the X route and how I used X to replace the F route there?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just hitting the same two spots at a different angle, different timing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I haven't changed my progression. The play looks completely different, and I don't have to teach my quarterback how to read this thing again. Does that make sense?
So it's in theory, it's double stick.
It's double stick in theory, yes. Right. Okay. But you see how I've made my tag call mimic the same play, but it's just from a different angle. Okay. Because my X, all right. So my arrow right is with my X. So he's going to go run his arrow right. And so on the arrow, his rule is straight at and right through the window. Okay. So he's running straight at the defender, and the window's behind the defender. So he's going to run right through it. Okay. So he's going to get to that window and sit down. Does that make sense? Okay. So now that's the arrow rule. That's the straw rule. That's how it works. If this wheel disappeared and he came on a blitz, just say that autoed, or he ran with him, right? Now this is going to stretch just below the free safety, right? Because the window was behind wheel. Okay. So we are just going to find grass in that window, but we can take it further. Does that make sense? If we're blocking it, right? Let's just say I'm running and I'm not passing the ball and that wheel ran out there. Now I'm blocking him. Right? There's my touchdown block, arrow right.
You're saying if the wheel goes with the F?
Yes.
Okay.
The wheel goes with the F. There's no one on my path until I get to the free safety because my path takes me to my block if we're running the ball. If I'm passing the ball and I don't receive the ball, the arrow still takes me to the path to the guy that I'm blocking. So let's just say he caught the ball out here in the shoot route. Now he's blocking the wheel right there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the same concept. I'm only getting there in a different way on this back side. Okay. So I've still got the speed out here that's still going to hit about the same time as it would, if I didn't tag it out. And then the shoot here is just replacing that speed out. The arrow here is just replacing this backside stick. Does that make sense? Nothing has changed over here. Nothing at all has changed.
Question for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, same concept. Everything you're doing is great. Will takes off with green to the. I gotta get my glasses. Sorry. F goes on the shoot route. You with me?
Yep.
Will goes with him.
Okay.
With me?
Yep.
Free safety. It's cover 3, so free is deep. How soon is X going to sit in that window right there?
If he gets to behind any receiver, right, and the window is open now, I'm going to take it.
Okay, so technically, okay, yeah, that's about where okay.
Does that make sense?
Level off, or is he just going to bridge up and just, hey, give me the ball?
Give me the ball. Like it could be here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Because he's running behind Will as Will's
absolutely
sideline.
Yeah.
Because and then it turns into sluggo, as you said earlier.
You can if you want, right? Okay.
Right. And my kids, I couldn't get them to do the go part because the free safety's gone. So I just told my kids, sit in the hole.
Right. Absolutely. And again, if he starts belling, absolutely throw it. There's no reason why not to, right? Okay.
Right. because the mic's all mugged up behind the nose guard.
Yeah, he's in here.
Yeah.
He, hopefully we got him caught up.
Okay, and that's why I said earlier. Now you've set up your mesh between X and, in my terminology, X and Y mesh.
Right. Okay. And you could do that with the yellow arrow right, left right there. Right? Okay. Now let's just say, for because we're in this play right now. Okay. Let's just say this mic now is your hole dropper, right? And then he's breaking down on that. He's covering this, and he's coming. You got to play in a good team. They got a good hole dropper, right? And then they bring the strong safety from the other side. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just a scenario here, right? Let's just say had a perfect rotation. You got a hole dropper, okay? Now, if I see that, what would be your tag for yellow right here?
I technically would turn my eyes to the right.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead, Jay.
H would be a hot route right there.
Right, just throw the shoot now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't have to change anything, okay? Well, let's just say we can get this guy on a corner, or on a seam, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or on a bender, something like that. You see what I'm saying? Now, if I came out and we just ran that, okay, how do you think, like, if I didn't want to tag anything except this guy on that route, knowing that if I give just a single call, it's going to start with the X, right? And then go F, then Y, then H, then Z in this formation, right?
Mm-hmm.
How would I just call yellow to run that? What would I say?
Seam.
I could say pro seam, right? Or I could say yellow seam. Or if he's got a number, I could say 78 seam, right? Or 82 seam. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't always have to be like, rigid. Does that make sense?
So stick left, 82 wide seam.
There you go. Right? So I've got stick right and left, because remember, my stick concept's over here, right? My normal stick concept is over here.
But you're tagging Y to run the seam.
Right. Okay. Yep. So I could say pro seam. I could say yellow seam. You see what I'm saying? Get to the terms. Once you get to the terms, now you can say right seam. Okay. What would happen if you think I called right seam out of here? Okay. I'll go back to stick. Right. So if I say right seam, what do you think I'd get?
3 verticals or in my stuff, 3 verticals on the right.
Well, now remember, this is my right guy right now.
Oh, just be H on that.
So,
right? Yeah, there you go. H is on the seam now. So instead of running the shoot, now he's just running the seam. Does that make sense?
Yep. All right, in an effort to try and keep this under an hour, I'm gonna have one more question. And then we're gonna call it a night for tonight. We'll do this again here soon. But
okay,
where we talked about before we went live, you were asking about how much time I had if I had spring ball and everything like that.
Yes.
And I'm assuming you get spring, you get some in the summer, then you also get your fall, right?
We do. I mean, we make that time, but
right.
if I'm installing. Right.
Well, I want you to put yourself in my shoes, because remember, I always seem like whenever I get on stream, I always talk about the lack of time that I have, and I'm always jealous of you guys because you guys are talking about spring ball and summer ball, and I'm like, I don't get any of that. So, real quickly, if you don't mind, if put yourself in my shoes, you had no spring, no summer, maybe some virtual stuff, because I can do some virtual stuff, right?
Right.
But you got them day one of school, and your AD says to you, you got 13 days, 13 practices to get them ready.
Yeah.
With your system, just curious how you would do it, because if you can do it kind of quickly.
I can do it really quick. So here's your deal. the first day you go put the cones out. Okay. Like I showed you those cones, the pictures of the cones, right?
Yep.
Okay. The first day I go put the cones out and I number them just like it is, just like it shows up here. The only thing that I changed this year with my guys is this, right? Okay. Right and left. And then I've got an S right here. Sniffer, sniffer. Okay. Sniffer right, sniffer left. That's the only thing that's changed out of this whole system that I've been running this since like 2010 at least. It maybe really technically more than that. Anyway, so I lay it out. I show them this formation, and then we go right into changing formations with the numbers. Okay. So my very first thing that I do is I start with the green guy and I say green 3, right? This is a pre-snap movement, right? Before the snap, no motion. It's a shift. He's going to step right there. Then I say green left. Then he goes there. Green ace. Then he goes there. Green 4. He goes right there. Okay. Now I put him back in the base. And then now I tell him green rip 6. Okay. So now he's going to go right there and he's going to rip to 6. Then I'm going to tell him green rip pro. So he's going to go over there. He's going to go to rip pro, right? So now he knows that my call for running, and you use your terms, right?
Right.
Use your terms. Rip there, rip there, rip there, rip there, rip there. Every single position. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and now with you would be installing this kind of stuff in spring, correct?
No, this my day one. I'm telling you, if you got day one, this takes like these cones should be set up when your guys get out and go take the field, right? You say you already know who your X and your Y and your F and all those guys are, right? In your 8th grade squad?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So your 7th grade squad, you probably haven't seen them yet. So
Well,
what you're going to do is you're going to say, hey, who's my wide receivers, right? They're going to get it. Raise your hands, right? Go ahead.
No, I don't have 2 separate teams. They're all one. And
Oh, okay, I'm with you. Okay.
Yeah.
So what
those guys I was talking about, those guys are my returners. So
Yeah.
those are the guys that I know that are coming back.
Okay. So what you do is you group your guys into these positions, okay? X, F, H, Y, and Z. Okay, so now you got all your skill guys taken care of. Your linemen are going to take care of themselves. They're going to be your linemen. You know who your linemen are going to be, right? Okay. Normally the big kids, the punishers, and all that good stuff.
Right.
These skill guys, you can pigeonhole them, man. I'm telling you, pigeonhole them. With those limited time that you have. If you have 2 X's and you know those 2 guys are X's, that's the only 2 X's right there. When you're teaching this, those 2 guys are standing right there, right on the top of that X, just like where they need to be. When you're telling them to, when you say you put in lights and it looks like this, and now you tell them to rip 3, both of them are going to the 3 spot, right? Both of them are going to ace when you say ace, when you say left, 4, 5, 6, right, all the way across, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So you're putting your formation in right now. This should take no longer than the time it takes you to count to 10 for each one of these kids. I'm talking 10 minutes, and they'll have it figured out. Trust me, right? It's not rocket science. I mean, I got 7-year-old kids that they figure it out in 10 minutes, right? Now, when you start adding rip and stuff like that in, as they're running, they may run past the 7 or past the 8, but that's why you leave the cones down there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So then once I get that put in, I can switch every kid around. Okay. So now I move red to green, green to blue, blue to yellow, yellow to purple, purple to red. Okay. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay. Go through the same thing again. Right. It looks different from a different spot. I don't know why it does, but it just does, okay? Run them all through that, okay? If you want to get busy right away and you're teaching your stick concept, after you go through that, you start running your stick route concept from this formation first, then to your base formation, then to your next formation. Does that make sense? and make your quarterbacks throw the ball. And we start from left to right. We throw to the red first, throw to the green, throw to blue, throw to yellow, throw to Z. Once he's made one rotation through, then we start going through Rip and Liz. Okay, so as an example, if I'm running shallow, my shallow, I would run it 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I hit every one of these receivers, I'm going to call lights. He's going to come on. He's going to come off. And now I'm going to say, I'm going to rip him all the way across the formation, get him to 8, and then he's going to run his shallow all the way back across. Does that make sense?
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Make sure he knows his job. And then the next play, right, you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to throw the ball to F and not the shallow. Then you're going to throw the ball to H and not the shallow. But every time he's ripping 8, running his route, he's ripping 8 every time. If you want to change it up, you could say rip 7 one time, then rip 8 the next time, then rip 9 the next time, rip 10 the next time, and then rip pro the last time. Do you see what I'm saying? That way you know for sure that he knows without a doubt, one, that everywhere he goes, as long as you don't tag him, he's staying in his basic play call, okay? If you're running stick and that guy's is a 5-yard out, when he gets over here and he rips 8, he's going to run his 5-yard out, right? If you rip him to 7, he's going to come over here and run his 5-yard out. You rip him to 9, he's going to come over here and run his 5-yard out from the 9 position, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So now not only are you teaching them their route tree, but you're also teaching them their exit points based off of a movement. Okay. You can do that with orbit 2, orbit 3, orbit 1, orbit 0, orbit base, right? Orbit top, orbit bottom, whatever your terms are, that's what you want to put in. Okay. And that's why I say this is plug and play. You already have terms for your movement, for your motion and stuff like that. All you have to do is plug them in and then add them to the number system, right? I mean, really, that's all you're getting the most out of this whole thing is the numbering, the ability to get your guy within a 2-yard area on the field at any time, running whatever you want him to run based off of what you need, to attack the defense with. So, I mean, that's the, in the nutshell, that's how this system works and how I set it up. And, if you go through it, now I'm doing blue 3. Okay. Everything I say is blue, right? So if I say blue rip 7, now he's rip 7. He's going to run his, swing from rip 7, right? Or if he's got arrow right, he's running arrow right. Okay. So if I say blue 3, arrow right, okay, he's just going to be right there. And now he's running his arrow right from that 3 location.
Yeah.
Right. Do you see what I'm saying?
I got you.
Now, here's what I say. Only teach your concepts that you run. Okay. So your favorite concept is stick. That's where you start. Don't go start off on shallow. Don't go start off on dagger or vertical, 4 verts, something like that. If your base play and your offense is stick and it's the best, tag everything and move everything based off of the stick formation. And I'm gonna open up just I'll show you my stick stuff. I put in like 6 or 7 slides here, right? Okay, maybe 8, 9. Yeah, I put in 6, 7. Okay, so here's an example. There's stick, red, arrow right. Okay, there's my arrow right. Okay, my doubles is a term for me. So that means the 2 guys on one side or the other, right? They're going to run whatever the next tag is. So in this case, it was doubles left. So I'm telling these 2 guys on the left run slant. So anytime they hear doubles, they both run the same. So if I said doubles hitches, they would both run hitches on the left side, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I said double outs, now I got kind of a levels concept to the outside. They would run, both of them would run it. And they know, there's a rules. You got to put in, just like everything, you put rules in. Like the double slants, one runs a low slant, the other one runs a high slant. Here's the stick. Like that's the stick concept for me. So all I have to call is the backside, double slants, right? So if I have to get wordy with it, I could say empty, slant, slant, right? And then stick. You see what I'm saying? Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
So here's another example. Smash stick, right? There's my stick, right? Here's smash. Okay. So they know what the smash concept is. You just run the smash with the stick on the front side. Okay. Stick nod. Okay. That's not a typical thing. Okay. That's not a typical play, but here's my stick concept, right? What's different? That green, normally he would be over here running his stick, right, in the base. And normally the blue would be over here at pro. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
This one's different, okay? But if I said blue 5, right, if I was in stick and I said blue 5, green rip 7, go, that's what I would get. He's going to run across the formation. He's going to rip 7. Now, if I said why nod 7, go, okay, the terminology is still the same. It's all there. Does that make sense? So here's another deal. Double hitches. Okay, so remember I said doubles. So now they're running hitches here with stick on the right. Okay, so I mean all of it. You can get to whatever you want as long as you have a plan to get there. Now, I would say that if you're going to use this system or something similar, draw your concepts out and then find how you would tag it with the numbers to get there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's the hard part.
Really, it's easy if you've drawn it out, right? Like if you've got that drawn out, it gets easier. Like if you start thinking about, how am I going to tell this guy to go over there and run a go at that location in between X and Z? Like before, you'd either say, well, there's a lot of words. I'd have to get him 2 yards outside the hash, make sure, you're running the seam or, an outside release. You're still going to teach all that stuff, right? Or I could just tell him, rip 7, show him where the 7's at. Now, every time I say 7, that's where he's going. There's no doubt that dude's going to be there every single time. And I think that's the beauty of it is that it's so simple and so repeatable. You can do it anywhere. From any kid that knows the numbers, if he can count from 0 to 10 and he knows 0's on the left, 10's on the right, you can tell any one of those kids at any color to go to that spot, start his job from there, and you should be good to go.
I like it. I'm gonna probably end it here though.
All right. Well,
but what I want to do is what I would like to do next time is I'd like to have you on again, obviously. Do you have film?
I do have film, and we're building more film this year. And I'm kind of going from the standpoint of let me get back to my screen, share there. Get back to breaking it down. I mean, we've got games and stuff. I don't have Huddle. I haven't paid for Huddle, so we really just breaking down film from bad angles. Don't have a skybox or anything like that. A lot of times we've got a mom standing way as tall as she can get up, by the press boxes and taking videos with the
Same boat.
with the iPad or something like that. I've got some drone videos.
Student with the iPad. So I mean, if you see my film on my channel, it's kind of choppy.
Yeah, I've got some. Now, I have some high school coaches here that they're starting this system, and they've agreed to start giving me the video. Right, so like part of my fee for the install is like, if you guys install it and you send me the videos, I'll give you all of it. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
Because what it does is it makes it taggable for me, and you guys are tagging it on your film with the coding. Does that make sense? Otherwise, I'll do what I've done, forever is I'll go get some all 22 film, pull out the parts that are similar and then tag it and show people what it looks like. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I've got drone video of youth, right? But everybody wants to see the, the high school game film of it, of the concepts and how we use them. Now, there's a lot of schools here in Oklahoma that are using the passing concepts as modified, like I've done it, right? So like all the stuff that I've showed you, there's some high schools here that are running that, but right, those guys, they're not going to tell you who they are. Does that make sense? That's part of like, confidentiality, and I'm not going to tell you who they are either.
I don't blame you.
But some of this, I'm willing to share all of it with anybody. I'm not the guy, I'm not trying to make money off of it or anything. I would love to, and when I get my book out, I'm sure I'll make some money off of it. But my whole goal is to speed everybody up and kind of get them caught up to the curve, right?
Yeah.
Because the biggest downfall that we get is between youth football and the guys that are coming to you, Jason. You know what I mean? It's like they don't know what stick is. They don't know what any run and shoot. Like you tell them hitches, all hitches or something like that. They may do it, but you say hook or slide, you start talking run and shoot to young kids. They don't know it because there's not a lot of dads that know it. There's some football junkies out there that, they live, breathe, and everything that they do is football. And those are the guys you want coaching your kids, but they're hard to find.
Yes.
Right? There's maybe one in 50 mile range, got a team of kids that aren't really competitive, and they're not winning games, so they're not getting any recognition.
Right.
And then you got some guys that are out there doing showcases that are trying to teach kids at a high level and get kids recognition, but we get in trouble for that too because it's just so many games. Like kids shouldn't be playing 50 games. They should play their 8-9 games a season and move on. If they want to do training, let them train. But now, like here in Oklahoma, if you're not playing football, you're not getting on the junior high field. I'm just telling you, these 6A schools, 7A schools here, the competition is so stout now. You got Dub Maddox up there in the north teaching all his guys. It's hard to keep up with how fast football's changing. So, any little, advantage that you can get, especially if you're in the middle school teaching these guys, I want to help you get it, right? I want guys to learn it at a high level and be fast. Because I think if you unlock the brain, right, and you let those kids go play fast on a simple system, they destroy it. Like we got this team here, man. One of our first games, man. When we put this in 52-0, we're just smoking guys because I'm just out there having fun, calling, rip 7, and I'm still in shallow, blue 6. That's my play call. And I haven't came out of shallow. We're just moving the back and moving the dude over, and the play looks different. But
I would definitely like to put this system, like you're talking about with some film, so you can kind of, hey, we called this, and you can see it, see with our own eyes.
Yeah, and I've got it. Like I said, I'm putting it all together in a package. I got the just play stuff, so I've been building that up, and I'm probably going to get the quick pro draw here next, and I've got some tempo slides. From the Air Raid certification stuff that I'm putting together to show you at a high level what it looks like, right? Like what the concepts are and how they're running them and stuff like that. But like you said, how do I tag it? How do I build it? What's the install for it? I've got drills even in my display. That we go through, teaches protection, that teaches defense based off of the same type of numbering system and stuff like that. Like just this last week, we put in boxed quarters concept in 20 minutes with a 7U group, and dude, they were covering everything. We were running double post on them, post wheel. We were running smash. We were running double slants with the arrow right behind it, and they were picking it all up. Like that's really tough for a 3-man surface to pick up, 3-man scat type distributions out there coming across your face and stuff. But we did it, really quick. And if you can get to where you're teaching it and you have a bunch of shortcuts, but not only you have shortcuts, you have them at a level that's in layman's terms, like super layman's terms. Anybody can understand it. You know what I mean? I think that's where it becomes special. Some of these guys are so technical, they can't talk to a kid unless they have a certain understanding of football. And I think the higher level coaches that are out there, the higher they get, the worse it gets, trying to teach at a young level. So, I think the need for a super simplistic system from the junior high to the high school levels is imperative. If you're going to be winning games, at a repeatable rate every year in and year out, it has to be simple. I mean, it's got to be so simple for these kids to assimilate it and run it, or you're going to be in trouble. It's going to cost you in the big games. It's going to cost you.
All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate it. Robbie, you got anything before we?
I'm just listening, guys.
I'd tell you what, Robbie. I'm gonna, because you're going through your install stuff. I'm gonna have to pull you on here to do some.
Yeah, I want to see your stuff, Robbie. I like what you were talking about the other day. When we were here together. I was really interested. I was like, man, I want to see what he's doing.
Let me find it again. I'm actually doing all this on my school computer, and once you go through it, you lose it because I've got my computer about to shut down on me. I got so much junk on it. But yeah, we can go back exactly over what we talked about the other day.
Yeah.
Let me find that. If not, I'll come up with it again. And we finished track this week, so I'm getting home at 4:00 in the afternoon now, so they give me a chance to do some stuff. And if y'all want to meet on Wednesday nights and Sunday, I don't have a problem anytime. So.
Yeah, we'll work something out. Absolutely.
Yeah, but Jason, if you want to do install, man, and you got some free time, just holler at me, right?
Yeah, I will.
I'll show you all my stuff I got. I'll give you the drills to go with it and stuff to make it go fast. But because I know you're crunched, man.
Nice.
That's normally what I do is crunch.
Crunch is an understatement.
Yeah.
So, but I appreciate it, fellas, and y'all have a good night tonight. We'll be in touch here soon, and look forward to doing this again.
All right.
Thanks,
guys.
man.
Y'all have a good night.